starting maybe at 2 minutes before time. Some of the people are still having refreshments and they'll be joining us any moment. And I'll take a minute or two to just tell you what's happening in MMA next few days. We have some outstanding event lined up for you. And on the 2nd of Feb, next event is the second Balachandra Memorial Lecture. It's already registrations closed, it's full house. And those who are not registered, not to worry, it's a live webcast. You can watch it live from whichever place you are in. Then on 8th of February, we have the competition for the young managers. You want to witness, some 60 people are participating. You come and see that the young managers competition is happening at MMA on the theme of the convention. It will be very, very interesting. You can come and join us on the 6th of Feb. On 7th of Feb, we have a very, very interesting event on discussion on help, can you hear us, navigating societal fault lines in children. So how the children really suffer in India and what is the need today to really help the people to bring the children from the poor community to for upliftment, and it's not to be missed event. It's happening on 7th. Then 11th is our flagship event, MMA Annual Convention 2026 and India 2035, driving progress in the changing global paradigm. And we have some outstanding panel of speakers. We already shared with you today. There are about 23 of them, starting from Bhattacharya Mehta, Member of Parliament, to Dr. Rangarajan, to Mr. Krishnan IAS, and very, very outstanding lineup of speakers. So it's a big list. I don't want to take too much of time. Just you can click in, or it's already gone to inbox today. Then on 12th of Feb, again we have an interesting subject on AI for the rest of us, an illustrated introducer. But there are so many topics on AI. We have got something which is out of the box interesting. And we have Sairam Sundaresan is from USA, is going to be talking to us with some outstanding panel from ANS, Deloitte and other thing. Now on 12th again, we have after finishing on the 12th, again we have a 2-day tech summit. MMA is doing jointly with the Hindu group. The summit is happening at Taj Coromandel on the 12th and the 13th, both the days. And we have some outstanding speakers, and that is by invitation only. And if you are interested in joining, and I suggest you call the MMA executive and find out if they can be accommodated actually. And again, 14th, we have an interesting talk again on forecasting under uncertainty, lessons from the poll predictions for leaders and managers. Because poll coming, so we'll have a lot of events relevant to the poll, so that to keep the interest alive. We've got former Chief Election Commissioner Krishnamurthy, then Sriram Sheshadri is one of the very good poll analysts, Arun Ram, editor of Times of India, Prime Point Srinivasan is again founder, chairman, Prime Point Foundation Digital Journalism, and is also mind management thing, and Kumaraswamy is again former act consultant. On 14th of Feb, we have again an interesting event. It's happening at Time Link Ananaga on it's a Golden Age series, we call it actually. That's happening. Darshana Jain is going to be talking. And then on 21st of Feb, again an interesting event, and we have Ambassador Ajay Bisaria. He is going to be talking to us on weathering the Trumpism business strategy in a tariff first world actually. It's very interesting. And all you want to know about Trumpism thing, I'll take maybe one more minute to say. Then on 26th, we have Read and Grow, led by Sangeeta Shuesam. And then on 6th of March, we have Women's Conclaves happening on thing which is jointly with GLEM. Then on 11th of March, again, we have a competition for young women managers. 12th of March, we have Mr. Harish Bhatt. He's going to be talking about the Ratan Tata lessons, what you learned. You know, Harish Bhatt is the brand custodian of Tata Sons, and he's written a book and on which you are going to discuss all about Ratan Tata. And Ratan Tata is the recipient of MA Business Leadership Award. And on 14th of March is our MMA Women Managers Convention. We are again lined up some outstanding speakers. So I'll stop with this. We have really done quite a bit of activities next few months. Coming to today's event, and this event is thanks to one of our committee members and well-wisher of MMA, Mr. Ansiraj Verma. He is IAS retired. When he said, we must do this event, and I also Shanti Act. That's the first time I heard. I know Shanti Act, we booked the thing. All of a sudden, somebody tells about Shanti Act, not many know about it. And, how many of you know about Shanti Act here? Anybody knows Shanti Act, the expansion? What is the expansion of Shanti Act? Anybody knows about it? You know Shanti Act. You know what it is. But you don't know the expansion of Shanti Act. How do we understand what exactly is it? Shanti Act is nothing but the sustainable harnessing and advancement of nuclear energy for transforming India. That's what we are going to be discussing today. because this act has been very timely brought about by the government of India, and we are really privileged to have outstanding speakers who will be discussing about this act and thing. And I must thank personally Mr. Verma, IAS, he is a Director General of COSIDICI and also former Chairman of TNEB. He's a great well-wisher of MMA. He's part of our managing committee. Great supporter of MMA and his activities. It's always a pleasure to interact with him. When he said, we straight away jumped and we organized the event. Today we are there. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together. Welcome the outstanding panel for this evening. Mr. Verma, IAS retired. Then we have Mr. Nandakumar, is the managing director of Nanwin Energy. Then Mr. Chandrasekar, former chairman of Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, and my good friend T.G. Suresh. T.G. Suresh is part of MMA managing committee. Warm round of applause to the very, very high-profile panel for this evening. The format of the program for this evening is, as usual, we will request the panel will have, each one of them will share their thoughts, and thereafter there will be a conversation amongst them. Then we'll open it for the question, and we have a Mentimeter. If you have any question, you can send to them. All the viewers watching the program live, we have a number or a Mentimeter. You can send your question. We'll tell you to address your questions. What is relevant to the theme today, what is being discussed. Now coming to deliver the formal welcome and introductory remarks, I request Mr. Suresh, partner Suresh and Balaji, Chartered Accountant. Suresh, a good friend and one of the finest brain in terms of taxation, indirect taxation, and direct taxation is really known as authority for direct taxation. We have already done. He's also part of our CFO forum. We do a lot of work together. He also does quite a bit of work on philanthropy actually. He takes care of a number of schools and part of the PS group of schools, and we work together and take care of a lot of poor children. He's the one person who is highly revered by all his students, and he's been teaching at the Institute of Chartered Accountant India and most sought after teacher. Now I request Suresh to deliver the formal welcome and opening remarks. What is Suresh?
Good evening. I hope you've had a fantastic high tea. So now it's time to listen to a very, very complicated and interesting topic. It's indeed my privilege and pleasure to really welcome and provide the opening remarks for this program. And one thing about this topic, normally, of course, maybe from Tamil Nadu, most of the names kept by the central government is most of the time I will find it difficult to pronounce. But for a change, at least it looked a very relatively simpler one, which is Shanti. So to that extent, because Captain helped me in finding out the abbreviation also. The special theme here is that 1000 gigawatts by 2047. So India's nuclear roadmap and the new Shanti Act. Because nuclear and Shanti don't go together, but still we have to use the nuclear for Shanti. Possibly that could be the theme also. Now, of course, as organized by MMA along with the support of CAS, it's my privilege and welcome to all of you. And Mr. Verma, retired IAS, and he's also Director General of Council of State Industrial Development Corporation of India and former Chairman of TNEB and TEDA, and member of the Indian Energy Forum. Thank you, sir. It's been a very pleasure and honor to really address this welcome address. In fact, he was also predicting when we are in the boardroom discussing, in 10 years' time, look, just the possibility of snow in Chennai. ஏற்கனவே எனக்கு ஒரு ஷிவரிங்காக இருந்தது ஆக்சுவலாக சென்னையில். ஸோ பட் இட் இஸ் வெரி இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங். That's a kind of climatic change, and that's a kind of, the depth and knowledge is the way in which things are moving. The Thai Amasam has become a new Margaret type. So I think Buddhavan to such a huge knowledge, it comes with such a background. I'm sure all of us will really enjoy this discussion and take it to the next level. Nandakumar, Managing Director of Nanwin Energy LLP. So I was asking him, so what is this Nanwin? So of course I'll slightly rephrase it. Of course he said the reason, but what is most important is it's not non-win, it's for norm-win. Non in Tamil means for me, but actually its projects are for norm-win for all of us. So I mean, when he was discussing with them, he was talking about many projects he is doing both in India and outside India, including Northeast. And it was fascinating to listen to you for a few minutes, sir. Thank you very much for coming here and addressing this wonderful audience. Mr. Chandrasekar, former chairman of Tamil Nadu Electricity Regulatory Commission. Welcome, sir. I also take this opportunity to welcome all the participants who joined the venue this evening. And on a very difficult topic, this is a very unique topic. I'm very happy to see all this evening. So many people are here, both offline as well as online. And that shows for a very interesting topics, unique topics also, the MMA has got the ability to bring the audience. That's always been the power. Established in 1956, and that is one reason why for 15 consecutive years, MMA has been voted as the best management association in India till 2024-25. So I think we have to acknowledge the past presidents, the current president, retired management, and of course it goes without saying. So our group captain Vijay Kumar and his entire team, I think they have been absolutely fascinating and fabulous. Now I haven't seen, so for so many years, if 6 o'clock means it's 6 o'clock. In fact, always from time to the way in which anything happens here is professional to the core. And therefore there's no wonder, it's not surprising. It's not like Chennai becoming a snow. As far as this is concerned, for this MMA, I'm sure that it's going to be 15, it's going to be 50, 25, 25, 50. Fantastic. Thank you, the entire team, for this. The Shanti Act, in fact, when I was asked to give the welcome address, I was wondering what is Shanti. In fact, I'll be very honest with you. Because I had to give this welcome address, had he asked this question to me, I would have said, Shanti, oh, sir, I think it's so, but anyway, I also had an opportunity to go through. Is sustainable harnessing and advancement of nuclear energy transformation in India, which is passed by the Parliament recently. Now, this is a very important watershed moment in the history of India, primarily because this opens up the nuclear sector to the private. Now, it's very dangerous, nuclear energy. So why we are slightly worried about certain countries possessing nuclear weapon, because it could be a dangerous one. So therefore, when you try to open up to the private sector, you have to also have that caveat. So therefore, the Parliament has opened up the private participation, so beyond the traditional context. Now, what is this objective? The objective of this, we are just trying to move from 8 gigawatt to 100 gigawatt by 2047, which of course 2047 was significant. It's 100 years of India independence. The parliaments have been consistently talking about Viksit Bharat. And one of these objectives here is to achieve this by a clean energy transition, low carbon emissions, and energy security with a net zero future. Though some advanced countries are trying to look back, at least one major advanced country is somehow not becoming a little bit serious on this, but India is very serious on this particular. That's why we passed this act in the Parliament. What it promises now, it's a transformative benefits for the Indian industry by unleashing the private sector potential into this area, which is predominantly dominated by the PSUs. What it actually brings, it brings the capital, the competitiveness, and we can just keep on adding so much benefits it's going to bring in. So, to just on this particular point, so we have a very, very fantastic team which is going to take us through the benefits, advantages, the way ahead. And I take this opportunity to really thank all my colleagues in MMA, and of course all of you joined both, of course, as always, the captain and his wonderful team for making this possible. So once again, thank you, sir, all the 3 participants here with a lot of experience to enlighten us on this wonderful, unique, beautiful topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suresh, and for setting the context. Now, the format, as I mentioned to you earlier, initially Mr. Ansaraj Verma will speak, thereafter Nandakumar, then Chandrasekar, then they are agreed to take the questions. And let me have the privilege of introducing our distinguished panel for this evening. Can I have the AV, please?
Mr. Hans Raj Verma, IAS, retired, is a distinguished former civil servant of the Tamil Nadu cadre with nearly 4 decades of leadership across industry, infrastructure, energy, and governance. Mr. Hansraj currently serves as Director General of COSIDICI and is a former Chairman of TNEB and TEDA, bringing a strong focus on sustainable industrial growth and institutional strengthening. Mr. Hansraj is also a member of the India Energy Forum, contributing his expertise to national energy and development discourse. Mr. M. Nandakumar is the MD of Nanwin Energy LLP and a seasoned industry leader with nearly 4 decades of experience in delivering large turnkey projects across power, including renewables, oil and gas, and industrial sectors in India and overseas. A former MD of EDAC Engineering Limited, Mr. Nandakumar brings deep expertise in project management, business development, and global operations, with strong credentials from IIT Madras and Anna University. Mr. Nandakumar is an active industry contributor through FICCI and other professional bodies, known for pioneering lean construction practices and mentoring the next generation of energy professionals. Engineer M. Chandrasekar, former chairman of the Tamil Nadu Electricity Regulatory Commission, is a veteran power sector professional with over 3 decades of distinguished service at TANCO. As Director, Generation, Chandrasekar drove major efficiency improvements in thermal power plants and later, as TNERC chairperson, led landmark regulatory reforms including the state's first multi-year tariff framework. Chandrasekar leadership played a pivotal role in strengthening consumer protection and enabling the financial turnaround of Tamil Nadu's power distribution utility.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a profile of the distinguished panel for this evening. I'm quite sure at the end of the day, 100 gigawatt by 2047, India's nuclear roadmap and also Shanti Act, you all will get more wisdom, and what I request you all the viewers watching, spread this message so that we need power. We have got some phenomenal power guzzler organizations units there. Unless we have power generated like this, I don't think. Now I request Mr. Antaj Verma to deliver his remarks. Mr. Antaj Verma.
Event moderator, my fellow speakers and panelists, and fellow professionals from the power sector, and distinguished members of the audience. It was with my suggestion that Captain Vijay Kumar graciously agreed to have this event post the passing of the Shanti Bill by the Indian Parliament. Friends, I will speak from operational experience. I have a 2-decade association with the nuclear power sector. And nuclear power sector cannot be viewed in isolation. It's got an impact bearing on the industry, on the climate initiatives, MSMEs, supply chains, the youth, the skills, the job opportunities, and India's march to a developed nation. I have been chairman TNEB. I have been part of the mining department without a common link to monazite, which is found plentifully in beach sands of Tamil Nadu. I have been part of the MSME ecosystem for building valuable, consistent, sustainable supply chains. I have been part of the sustainable movement for sustainable manufacturing to ensure that India is able to promote green manufacturing and counter various non-tariff measures like CBAM. Even the recently concluded European Union Indian FTA, CBAM was left out. So if India has to be a power, a sustainable power, then we need energy. Friends, let me start by saluting the vision of the father of atomic energy, nuclear energy, Homi Bhabha. In 1950s, he developed that vision to develop India's civil nuclear power, harnessing the power of thorium. India has got 25% of world's reserves of thorium, beach sands on the coastal regions and some interior regions. He designed and planned the 3-stage nuclear power program, the first stage, the second and third stage. 1974, India conducted its peaceful nuclear explosion. Then came the sanctions. The industry went inwards, developed its own technology in terms of the indigenous pressurized heavy water reactors with very good safety records. Then we had hiatus. Then came the Act of 2008, a landmark partnership between US and India. George Bush, the president of USA, and Dr. Manmohan Singh. The civil nuclear deal 123. Despite India not being a member of the non-proliferation group, we were allowed to access the raw material and technology for nuclear power. Then happened 2010, friends. We passed this CLNDA, Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act, in which there was a provision under which worldwide the operators are held responsible for any accident, but here the operators could take recourse to the suppliers, and that prevented the foreign players from entering. Despite this deal, we did not have any foreign participation in the nuclear power sector. Only exception was the Kodangallur power project, but that was financed by Rosatom, a state PSU. It was exempt from these indemnity issues. 15 years, we could not realize the potential of the US 123 nuclear deal. Then came the issues of climate change, conference of parties, issues of sustainability, issues of carbon weight, carbon pricing of the products. If your products are not as per the carbon standards of the developed world, the European Union, there will be an additional tax. What is CBAM? It is cross-border adjustment mechanism, which simply says, if your steel, aluminium, the starting range, if the carbon content, which means the extent of fossil fuel energy used, burning of coal, gas, which contribute to the greenhouse gases and in turn to the climate change, heating of the atmosphere. If the carbon weight of fossil fuels in a product is higher than the standards which we have set, then you have to pay additional tax, and that can be as high as 30%. So if India has to be a manufacturing hub, has to come into the world stage, then sustainable green manufacturing became the imperative. India signed the net zero. We are targeted to become a net zero nation by 2070. 50% of our energy capacity today is RE energy in terms of solar and wind. So these are very major developments in the power sector. But that was not sufficient. RE is intermediate nature. It can be used only in combination with the battery storage, very expensive. And it is also has the potential for destabilizing the grid. Friends, Germany, which had 25% of its capacity as nuclear power plants, decommissioned the plants. On a good day, about 74% of the power requirement of Germany can come from RE sources, wind and solar. But if the conditions are not favorable, it can dip to 4%. That will destabilize the grid. We will not have the base load power. Base load power is what is used 24/7, irrespective of the conditions of for the RE power. And today, India's 70% base load power is fossil fuels. So if India has to reach its goal of net zero, if India has to reduce the carbon weight of its products, then we need to look at alternative options of base load. Because here nuclear power comes into play. India is a growing nation. We stand at G20 Committee of Nations. The Human Development Index of an average G20 nation is more than 0.9, which means there the average power requirement is per capita is very, very high. Today, India has a per capita requirement of about just 1640 terawatt hours. If we have to reach the standards of G20 nations in next 20 years, by 2047, we will need 25,000 terawatt hours of power. Where will this power come from? How will we improve the HDI, the quality of life of their citizens? The single biggest determinant of mobility in life, development, is power. We have climate change impacting us, massive heat waves across the summer months, which will need huge amount of power to manage them. It is here nuclear power came, and that is where the thought process started in the Indian establishment, and we had the Shanti Act in December 2025. Key word is sustainable harnessing of nuclear energy. For what? Transforming India. Nuclear power is clean power, green power. It's a base load power. It's a dispatchable power. It can stabilize the grid. Worldwide, today, nations have 10% of the energy mix as nuclear power. India, it's only 3%. And the humongous requirement of power by India, which means it should be a minimum of 15%. That is where the goal of 100 gigawatts, 1 lakh megawatts of power by 2047 from nuclear energy. Now, there are naysayers of nuclear energy. The question of safety will always come. Look back at history. 3 major accidents. 3 Mile Island, 1979, USA. 1986, Chernobyl, Russia. And 2011, Fukushima, Japan. Inherently, nuclear energy with proper safeguards is a safe option for any nation. As Captain Vijay was mentioning, and today's economics, our statement by the Government of India says there will be climate finance for nuclear energy. In the Conference of Parties, the annual gathering of all the nations for climate change in COP28, 30 nations committed to triple their nuclear capacity. China has got the maximum number of nuclear reactors under construction, and few years will overtake even USA as the single largest source of nuclear power generation. So quality of life, climate change, grid stability, HDI, all point that India has to harness the power of nuclear energy. Now, how do we go about? This will need partnerships by all stakeholders. Friends, what are resources for us? Our uranium is of not very good quality. The best quality uranium in India is very poor compared to the tailings of uranium from Canada. 40% of uranium is supplied by Russia in the world. So we cannot base our nuclear strategy on uranium. It has to be thorium based. This is where the 3-stage nuclear power program of India comes into play. First stage we have crossed, the pressurized heavy water reactors, where we generate enriched uranium we use and generate plutonium-239. The second stage is under construction, a bit delayed. It is expected, it's called the fast breeder reactor, Bhavani project based in Kalpakam, and in which we generate more uranium or plutonium than what we consume in the reactors. That's why it's called fast breeder reactors. The core loading has happened, and if all goes as planned, by September 2026, it should become operational. And then we'll go in the fleet mode. Fleet mode means same design, fast rollout. And the third stage is we use a combination of plutonium and thorium to generate more of uranium. It's a closed cycle. With that, India becomes self-sufficient. This is the future. It has to be uranium-based. Alternatively, friends, this all what I'm speaking is on public domain. You would have heard of a company called Clean Core Technology, founded by Indians in US. Mehul Shah is the CEO. Our former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, Mr. Anil Kakodkar, is also associated with that. They have come with a fuel called HALO fuel, high SA, low enriched uranium. It's also called Anil fuel. Again, a very good acronym for Advanced Nuclear Energy for Enhancing Life. It's a fuel with high combination of thorium and uranium. If allowed as per the technology and the country-to-country protocols, this fuel has got the potential for revolutionizing our thorium-based nuclear energy by moving past the second stage reactor and going straight to third stage reactor. The fuel is called Anil. A lot of discussions are there. You search, look at the public domain, Google, you'll find a lot of knowledge, views on this Anil fuel. Friends, I had the good fortune of working across two departments with a common mineral called monazite. In the beach sands of India, particularly Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Orissa, we have the placer sands. In the placer sands, there are several of these minerals, and the key is monazite. Monazite holds the key to India's technological superiority and place in pride of nations as a developed and manufacturing nation. From monazite, you get 60% rare earth oxides and 40% is thorium. These rare earth oxides are used for preparing of rare earth magnets. You have read in the newspapers, the near monopoly of China. 90% of the supply of rare earth magnets is by China. And they are weaponizing this monopoly, dominant position in country-to-country diplomacies. So a proper effective use by partnership of all the stakeholders will enable us to harness the power of B sands, monazite, thorium for a nuclear power. Now, as an individual, whether you're a youth, part of the industry, part of civil society, you will have this question. What is in for you in nuclear energy? Friends, first a citizen of India, nuclear energy is the way forward as a baseload clean power for developing India. As they say, nuclear energy is the most successful failure of public policy. Technology was never the issue. It is public perception. How to promote nuclear energy, then we need a very honest discussion among all the stakeholders, the citizens, the benefits, the pros and cons of nuclear energy. The second, with this 100 gigawatt opportunity, there is going to be business opportunity for 15 lakh crores. Localization of supply chains. The Western world has got the technology, not the talent and the manpower. India has got that. So all the manufacturing components will take place in India, not only for Indian market, but for the export market also. This will give huge opportunity for the MSMEs. Specialized components for nuclear energy. Next opportunity is going to be for the youth. It will open up a new arena, huge scope for skilled jobs in the sector. This will give our grid stability and combination of solar, wind, battery storage, hydro, everything. It will position India on the rightful path as the developed nation having its place of pride in the community of nations. Friends, we are in Tamil Nadu. Our Honorable CM has a vision of a 1 trillion economy by 2030. A substantial portion of that has to be from green manufacturing. Any state, any nation aspiring to be a hub has to have green manufacturing, which means less of carbon fuels. As individual units, as industrialists running MSMEs, you have to start looking very seriously at each of your processes. What is the carbon price of my product? Can it sustain in the future? As bankers, as financial institutions, you have to start looking at your portfolio. What you have lent to the MSMEs or industries, is it at risk? Will it sustain over 7, 10, 8 years? Is there sustainability built in these processes? And how do you all contribute to India's march to net zero? As our moderator was mentioning, the chilly climate of Chennai you are experiencing is something linked to climate change. The heat waves, the changing patterns, all is going to impact us. So it cannot be business as usual or what is for me approach. Collectively, all stakeholders, the youth, the civil society, the industry, the academia, think tanks like MMA, professionals, collectively we have to come together for India's journey. And friends, this is India's century. We have the talent, the demography, the intent, the path that by 2047 we are going to be a developed nation where the SDI is going to be on par. SDI, Human Development Index, powered by power consumption, on par with the best of the developed G20 nations. It is here, using this platform, this opportunity, I seek partnerships from all the stakeholders, and let's collectively power India to a developed nation. Thank you and good day.
Seat here, but yes. Yeah, fine, sure. Fine. அல்ல வைத்தையே அறம்பெருக்கும் நல்லவை நாடு இனிய சொல்லேன். பிறர்க்கு விஷயங்களை கூறும்பொழுது மனதாக நல்ல விஷயத்தை யோசித்து கூறும்போது அது அவருக்கு மட்டுமின்றி நாட்டிற்கு அறத்தை பெருக்கும், அவருடைய பாவத்தையும் போக்கும். If a man is speaking, he is seeking to speak, and if he speaks out of heart, a kind of a good wishing and a sweet word, it will increase his virtue and also will reduce his sin. So as part of MMA, I am sure while we are talking very sensitive topic on nuclear, we will talk good things out of our heart and out of our minds. So be assured what has been told by our Thiruvalluvar centuries back, we will be continuing to practice. அனைவருக்கும் இனிய மாலை வணக்கம். Distinguished Verma sir, Chandrasekar sir and Mr. Suresh, other office bearers of MMA, ladies and gentlemen. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to talk about a very important topic of nuclear energy. Energy itself is important, but of course the nuclear is a little focused over here. And as been told by Mr. Suresh and as well as Sir Verma sir, they given you a broad gamut of how is that is happening around us, and then he has given a kind of a summary and then run through. I'll try to take you through a similar kind of exercise of what he has talked about, but little bit in specific I will go through and then I will explain you. I just structured the entire presentation on these lines. Let's see what's happening around us, unless there is a what is in it for me. What is the current business, what is it happening and how it connects us. It doesn't make any sense while we are spending time here and then discussing it. Let's see what is the business which is happening here and surrounding us. And about the core topic of the Shanti Act, let's try to little go into detail and then try to understand that. Then what's the scenario of nuclear opportunities in the days to come? And then of course the safety considerations. Yes, we need to definitely touch upon that. Without that the topic would not conclude. And then what is the way forward to really take it forward? We all know the growth is required. If there is no growth, then there is no sense. People can grow either organically or inorganically, but it doesn't matter, but you have got to grow. Otherwise, there is no, sense. We can't remain as a baby as we have given birth, so we have to grow. So the growth in a nation is measured in terms of, you all know well, by an economical measure, a GDP. We are definitely performing much better in terms of our growth. Over the last, the decades of time, our growth has been phenomenal. It's close to 10%. And the growth rate, as for today's, even the economic survey report, it says something like it will be 7.3 to 7.4% in the financial year 2026. So we've been growing consistently a good amount of performance, except the COVID year, which I think you have got to leave that. Compared to the world, which grows only around 2 to 3%, our growth is something like 7-8% or close to double-digit 10%. So that shows that our that the economic growth engine is intact. And as you all know, the GDP comprises the three components: the primary sector being agriculture, the next sector being the manufacturing construction, the third being services. All three has to run. The economic engine has to run. And if you have to achieve the vision of becoming something like a $30 trillion, it has to grow in leaps and bounds across all the sectors. It is not necessary in only one sector grows and the other sector doesn't grow. We've got to grow all across. And if you come a little bit, we talked about the world, how is it growing 2 to 3%? Yes, we are much better than world. We are growing close to 6, 7, 8% in India. Yes. How about Tamil Nadu? Yes, we are 11.2% growth in the last financial year as per one of the RBI's report, which is highest among the states across the several states in India. That's a great pride for us. And we are top in the Human Development Index. And our current economic size is something close to around $0.4 trillion. We are looking at something becoming like a $1 trillion by 2030 under the honorable vision of the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. While we are talking about this business and the GDP, why we have to talk about that, as I said, unless it connects with this, what is in it for me? See, one of the studies shows that a GDP growth of a nation or a country would get significantly impacted by various factors. It could be due to tariff, it could be due to several other geopolitical factors. But one distinct factor which is on our head, hanging on our head, is the climate change. So the climate change, it's at our doorsteps. So that people say about 10% of your GDP could be lost by 2030 if you do not take significant steps towards containing it. So our economy, especially Tamil Nadu being, an economy with a GSDP of, 0.4 trillion, and that too again close to around 30% of manufacturing, heavily driven by manufacturing. Unless we consider the climate change aspect and then grow responsibly, we may not be able to sustain the traction. And it is not a question of growing in 1 year, 2 years. We have got to grow over a period of next 15, 20 years. So the traction is possible unless there is a kind of a planned vision for us to go about, either it is a state or as a country or on the globe as such. So it is in this scenario, if you look at that, when the growth has to happen on a kind of a planned manner, we have got to look at our growth of all the sectors, among which the energy drives the economy. There is usually a factor of safety, factor of elasticity is called. 0.8 is usually considered for an economy of our nature. That means GDP, if it grows at something like 7-8%, energy has to grow around 0.8% along with that. So it's highly, kind of correlated, and that's how the economic scenario runs through. So when the economy grows, the energy need grows. And as Verma was mentioning, like our per capita consumption increases. With all these things, the need is ultimately is the power, the energy we need. We need that. So unless that becomes kind of available to us, how an energy security is becoming a point of concern to everybody to talk about. When we all know that when the American the president imposed the tariff war on China, they didn't get deterred. They only said yes, it's fine, okay. But like they had a kind of a security in their hand. All the rare earths were under them. They put the the rare earths and then said, we will stop supplying the rare earths to you. So unless you are secured enough on your growth and the growth path is kind of crystallized, you will not be able to realize that. So having we talked about the globe and as well as the Indian scenario, on the whole, if you take our installed capacity of India's power is 505 gigawatt. the energy as a kind of a whole basket, 30% of the energy is direct consumption, meaning like by way of heating, cooling and things. Another, something like about 15% to 17% is by way of various fuels like gasoline and diesel, something like that. Another 30% is by way of electricity. So we are primarily now trying to talk about electricity as a kind of a means, but there are, as I said, three, in the basket of energy, three aspects are there. One is the direct heating, direct cooling is the one aspect, then through the medium of fuels, then the electricity we consume it as a ready kind of a consumption. This is the three forms of energy. So if you take, the third form, only we are talking about the installed power capacity and things, which is the electricity. Why is that we talk about electricity more in detail is that, when we consume an electricity and then when we drive an equipment or an engine with electricity as a kind of a prime mover, the efficiency is large. That's the reason people are now looking at electrifying everything. People may be wondering why you are using electric cars when the very same fossil fuel charges you again an electric battery and then you run an electric car. The thing is that an directly fired combustion engine is only around 35-40% of efficiency, whereas an electric vehicle, electric motor is around 94% efficient. So in the bandwidth of the energy of 30% direct heating cooling and then about 15-17% by way of the fuel, the next being around 30%, people are looking at enhancing the electricity. That is why US has had an Inflation Reduction Act, IRD Act, wherein they said, you please electrify everything. That's the reason people are now looking at, they are saying electrify your car, electrify your heating system, electrify furnace. That's a kind of a thing. So they want to increase the basket of electricity. That is where we are now looking at. We are having an installed capacity of power of 505 gigawatt in India, of which close to 50% is currently renewable, and the rest being, coal and oil and gas, and, we are having this kind of a mix. And let us a little come to Tamil Nadu again. We have got an installed capacity of 42.8 gigawatt of power, of which again, we have got a 30% coal, renewable is 59%, and the rest, again, oil and gas, and as well as the nuclear is about 3% we have. This is, the Tamil Nadu scenario. If you take, a little bit more into Tamil Nadu, what is the projected, kind of the capacity over a period of 2035, including, it's typically called contracted capacity, meaning like you don't have to have your own plant. The Electricity Act allows you, sir, maybe probably we'll be talking more about that and things, but it will allow you, anyone who is generating, consuming, it is possible to consume power. So including a kind of an open access, whatever the power you get it from other states or other private players, it is being contemplated to grow at a kind of a level of 25 gigawatt by 2035, wherein the mix of various kinds of energy in the entire basket is going to change. Substantial portion is going to be renewable. We are already a renewable, kind of a pioneer among various states in India. But still it will continue. A nuclear, currently what we have capacity close to around 1,400 megawatt will go in leaps and bounds, something like about 10 gigawatt it will go over a period of time. So this is going to be the scenario over a period of time. So a little bit, I would like to touch upon the climate change. We have been keep talking about climate change. Like the pre-industrial era, our CO2, which is there in the atmosphere, was something like 380 ppm. Now it is around 420 ppm. The idea is that, when the sun rays comes into the earth, about a third gets dissolved in the sea. About a third goes into soil. The remaining gets reflected. But when it gets reflected, it has to go out of the atmosphere. It doesn't go. The reason being, the greenhouse gases, which are primarily CO2, methane and gases, goes and traps it, forms a layer and doesn't allow the heat rays to go out. That causes you to be kind of told as globally getting warmed up. When our body temperature goes in excess of 98.6 degrees, we run to take Panadol, paracetamol, all these kind of stuff to keep the things under thing. When the globe is becoming, and then, it becomes, something like very disturbing. That's why the people have, kind of modeled, and then they said 1.5 to 2 degrees is the kind of a range. 1.5, why people said is when it becomes in excess of 1.5, certain small countries will become out of map. Probably like Maldives or Bangladesh will go out of map. That's why people are very serious about reaching 1.5 and then very carefully tread for 1.2, 2 degrees, but we are currently at 1.1 degree temperature of clocking it. And primarily all these, the climate change impacts are due to anthropological activities, due to human activities. Predominantly, we are only responsible. We use the land, we produce, we waste, and then the waste produces methane, which is 83 times harmer than the CO2. We consume energy, and then the energy, coal, oil and gas, and the various other forms. As a kind of anthropological activity, we only are responsible for all these, the climate changes. But at the same time, we are also equally responsible for containing it. How to do that? That's one of the very significant part. And as I was mentioning, like 1.5 to 2 degrees will be very dangerous. There are a lot of species will get lost. Sea level will rise, and then incessant rains, and then pluvial rivers. Lot of damages would happen to the system, and then it may cause the whole, whatever the engineering models we have been preparing for centuries will go out of gear when the climate change becomes a very serious issue. That being the scenario, on the whole globe, if you see the energy that contributes substantial portion of the greenhouse gases. And again, little bit coming to India as such, close to 73% is contributed by energy sector, followed by the industrial processes. Then you have got also the transport mobility, buildings, and agriculture and waste management. This all, adds to that. When these are all becoming, kind of coming to our, challenging our growth or the energy path, we have got to look at how we are going to manage it. So the situation will change, something like it is already at our doorstep. We have got to adapt and then have to become resilient. That's one option. We have got no other way. We have got to get ourselves adapted because the temperature has already warmed. Somebody has warmed up over a period of centuries. The pre-industrial era times now, from 1700 now they warmed up. But now it is a time for us to manage it. We have got to live with it. So this adaptation and resilience will call for something like a $2.3 trillion by 2030. And the mitigation, Varumun Kapom, that means, before further it gets, more and more damaging, we have got to take a lot of steps, like how we are talking about nuclear and other thing. There is where something like again $23 trillion is being looked at, is the kind of investment required to contain it over a period of time. And the study shows that the coal demand will peak in the next 2 years, and the gas demand will peak and then will become plateau by 2030. Oil demand will peak by mid 2030, and after that will start stabilizing. And if you take, we are all talking about the emissions, and then people are kind of talking about the climate change. Broadly, if you take, there are three types of emissions are there, like whenever directly whatever the actions we are doing it's usually called type 1. The type 2 is the indirect. Let's say, for example, we consume electricity, the electricity from which source, or the fuel from which source, that's a type 2. Type 3 is our entire supply chain. If you take the entire emission, the inventory, what is it happening? It's called as a scope 1, 2, 3 emissions. Close to 97.9% of the emissions are from the entire supply chain. So that means if you have to contain the entire climate change and things, you have got to looking at the entire, the supply chain to be kind of addressed. So this is, not only for 1 unit, 2 unit, for all of us we are responsible. Even as an individual, we are responsible for it. So while we are talking about these kind of challenges, it's the time wherein, we have got to look at how to take care of the climate change, how to take care of our energy need, how to see our economic growth. We are not a country like, China, wherein somebody dictates tomorrow the things happen, but we are an all-inclusive economy. We are a democratic economy. There are a lot of social factors. There are economic factors. There are environmental factors to take care and grow. So this is where, even if you are to grow in a kind of a manner, we are a responsible country. We signed what we call as a nationally determined contribution in the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework for Climate Change Convention. Among the 192 countries, we have signed saying like we will be achieving net zero by 2070. By net zero in the sense like, we can't stop the emission, but what we will do is whatever we are emitting, we will capture it. That's called the net zero. We will achieve that by 2070. How is that to achieve? There are milestones we have contemplated. We said we will have renewables, we will have other forms of energy, and lot of measures has been committed by us. Unless this is committed, the institutions which are funding us, there are foreign investors who are coming in, may not respect us. They will think that we are not a country, committed to these kind of things when we do businesses across the world. So that being the scenario, when the renewables are becoming 50% of our installed capacity of 505 gigawatt, the grid balancing and availability for further enhancing this renewable becomes a challenge. For 1 5 megawatt of windmill, you need 600 ton of permanent magnet, which is a rare earth. Again, you need to depend on China. The rare earth scenario is again very alarming. India, produces around 3,000 tons of rare earth, wherein we consume something close around 2 lakh tons of, rare earth. $9 billion is our volume of transaction of rare earth, what we are doing, of which close to something like around $4 trillion comes from China by various resources, material, equipment, everything. The remaining from other places. Our own, we have reserves, but our refining capacity and things are very less. So the government is looking at, kind of taking steps towards that. But when we are looking, not only increasing the renewable, solar, wind, and, the hydro and other potential, and another easiest option is to go for having a base load, which is the low intensity fuel, low intensity option of nuclear. This is where, a lot of thought process and, the Niti Aayog and the team have, kind of deliberated upon, and then came with how is that to harness the potential of the nuclear over a period of time. So this is where the Shanti Act had given a lot of traction. And this slide, I believe, Sir has already explained. We in 74, when we are nuclear state, the lot of sanctions. 2005, Dr. Manmohan Singh and George Bush has signed the nuclear deal. Then it became an act. Then 2010, what we did is we wanted to privatize. We formed what is called as a CLNDA Act, Civil Liability Nuclear Damages Act. But that was not enough to attract the investors from overseas. So what we did is that was more, kind of deterring the foreign investors to come and then invest. So that made us to, look for how to refine it and then how to go forward in making it more, viable for the investors from overseas to come and then operate over here. So this is where exactly the Shanti Act had come in, which is a kind of a new legislation which repeals the 1962 Atomic Energy Act and the CLNDA Act of 2010. And this is allowing a kind of a private participation by way of foreign companies, by way of, the government to join. 49% of the foreign JV is allowed. And then people can work in nuclear power generation, fuel, and as well as the research. And in all the waste management, in all these areas, will be able to do that. After the Shanti Act, private companies will be able to get involved, legitimately in various kinds of activities in the nuclear thing. So this, gives a new kind of attraction for us to really go about. The 5 pillars of the Shanti Act talks about, one is this private sector participation, as I was mentioning, in the power generation, the core power generation, then the fuel fabrication, equipment manufacturing, transportation, the transportation of the various components, including the nuclear waste, the various methods and logistics in managing it, and then the import-export of technology and then the manufactured components. It allows a 49% private cap, it ensures the public majority still we can keep the government can keep a control, 51% can keep a control on that. The state control on especially the mining and as well as the safety and the heavy water, research and development still lies with the state. That's a very important thing. And another thing is that there is a liability. See, always when the guys from overseas, when they come and they do the business, we can't be doing with our own, kind of investments, the businesses, what we are looking at by 2047 gigawatt of putting up the nuclear. The government alone cannot put the main money. We got to solicit the investments from overseas. When the people come in, they look at what is their liability when they operate over here. So the liability in the previous, the CLNDA Act, before the amendment to the Shanti Act, was 1,500 crores flat across to the people. So that was deterring to the people. They may not be able to absorb such a kind of a high value of liability. Now, depending on the capacity, in a graded slab, it has been put for various capacities and various sizes and various users. It has been defined well, and then the Act defines in a very proper manner when it is becoming acceptable to a level on par with an international standard. And again, one more thing is this nuclear, whatever the things, whatever, the deliberations and things, is all not by any civil, the kind of courts will have jurisdiction over this. This will be by an Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, which will be reporting to the Parliament, which will be having an independent committee, and then there is a defined procedures to choose that. So we can't have something like somebody goes and then put as a habeas corpus or putting a PAL and then, stall the process. That may not be working out in this case. They said it's all kind of waived for that. But again, with a lot of conditions, with a lot of safety in mind, that has been kept. That's one of the very important aspects of that. So that the key difference is that, as I was telling, yes, that the investment is one of the main thing to go about. This Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, which is formed, will have a lot of kind of powers to overrule that. And the state monopoly, like, the NPCIL kind of entities which was having a monopoly kind of a scenario, and nuclear fuel complex will wane away, and then the entities like Westinghouse or GE or, the various companies, Hitachi, these people are waiting to come and then invest in a big way. And as I was mentioning, the liability which has been not on par with the international standard as per the Vienna Convention and Paris Convention has been brought it on par. So that makes it easy for the people to kind of come and then invest and operate. And again, instead of looking for a large capacity reactors, looking at 700 megawatt or 1000 megawatt and things, small modular reactors are contemplated. That's one of the very innovative thing which is encouraged in the Shanti Act to really to go about. And, quickly to go about what is all happening around us, in the globe. In United States, which is a pioneer in the nuclear, yes, they are a major, kind of operating the nuclear plants, and are followed by France and other, Korea, China. So, United States, it gives the private kind of a leeway. It gives the absolute, leadership. The state monitors them and supports them. United Kingdom goes on a kind of a RAB-based financing, regulated asset-based financing, wherein you will get a low return for the asset, but yes, you are assured of the return. Many times the assets are becoming, kind of stranded in NCLT or other things because people price it beyond whatever is that is a regulated norm. Sometimes when the sectors are to stabilize, we have got to have certain, kind of a norms of a regulated asset-based model. So which is followed in UK, and that has been successful. In France, yes, it's a mature leadership. They are also leaders in the energy sector. EDF France, which is a French company, is pioneer in the nuclear. We had a representative of the EDF nuclear over here and sometime in December to talk about this. And China, of course, you all know well, they have a huge nuclear capacity, and then they are going for it in a very big way. And there it is a state control. Of course, the technology, they access it from overseas. And if you take the various business models for India, we can look at, the business model by way of a joint venture. It can be a small modular manufacturing opportunity. It can be a supply chain, entire, the solutions can be offered. We can have the infrastructure, including the waste management and site preparations. Everything can be prepared as a kind of infrastructure management. Leave alone the core reactors can be a big opportunity. And, a public-private consortium can be an opportunity to really go about. And if you quickly take that, why we are talking about all these things is that when we talked about the GDP and things, we said the primary sector agriculture, and we talked about the manufacturing, construction, and the services. If you take the employment, what it is generated in the manufacturing construction, which is, something like 31% of our GDP, is directly one-to-one. In case of services, though it is around 55-60% of the GDP, the employment generates is only 25%. Like a typically banking, financial services sector, it generates only half of the thing. So people are driving it. Even in today's economic survey, when the chief economic advisor and the finance minister were presenting, they were focusing on pushing the manufacturing in a big way. Unless the manufacturing is done, the growth of the economy will not be fundamental. So for us to make the economy to grow in a fundamental way, the manufacturing is important. That is where this Shanti Act and opening up the nuclear for the various sectors gives a lot of opportunity. So I quickly will run through. There are 5 segments of opportunities possible. One is a core manufacturing and engineering, wherein there are Bharat small modular reactors of 200 megawatt capacity. Already the NPCL has tendered out for this and invited private companies to come and bid. It has been extended up to March 2026 for the people to come and bid. There are small and modular reactors for 55 megawatt. It's also being developed for 5 megawatt for the hydrogen generation. So these are all factory built, and this, first of its kind of one FOAK will be very expensive. But once we start making, like the solar, when we initially, kind of started making, it was 15 to 16 crores per megawatt as a capital cost. But today around 4 to 5 crores. It's possible as the technology evolves, the cost of funding becomes cheaper, then it becomes, kind of viable. So there is where a big opportunity for us in the supply chain and manufacturing. And, the entrance can be, any manufacturing company can be into it. It's the volume of the opportunities 40 to 50,000 crores. And this can open up huge amounts of opportunity for us. And again, in the reactor manufacturing, and those opportunities are quite a big opportunity. Again, the fuel fabrication, throws up a very big opportunity. As Sir was mentioning, like 15 lakh crore of the entire opportunity in the core manufacturing is open, and then it is available. If you take the digital and IT services, you talk about AI in every gamut of our life. So AI can act in a very big way in managing the nuclear assets, in predictive maintenance, in managing the nuclear assets, and that volume of business is close to about 5,000 to 10,000 crore of the cyber security and AI related opportunities are there. And similarly, the data analytics, those investments are quite throws up a good amount of opportunity with a lot of human intellectual capable people we have. It's an absolutely big opportunity. Then the next is the complete project development. You can develop large reactors like 700 megawatt, 1000 megawatt, like how is it happening in Kudankulam, Tarapur. I had the opportunity to work in 3 nuclear plants, Kakrapur Atomic, Tarapur, and as well as in Kudankulam. I had the opportunity to work in my career while I was in Iraq as MD. So these are all wonderful opportunities to work. It will be a very kind of a safe working. The standards are up to the kind of a thing. As a kind of a working principle, they will be ensuring that everybody is treated on par. You will definitely be liking it. And India has got around a lot of coal plants and oil and gas plants. Close to 200 over plants are old plants, obsolete plants, which are put in 1950s, 60s, which are to be retired. So close to these 200 plants can be repurposed. In all those places, this plant of 200 megawatt can be easily put in. You don't have to worry about looking for new land and new places. So that could be developed. And the National Institute of Advanced Studies, which is part of DRDO, is carrying out certain models wherein some of these locations, even including, like a naval and another opportunity. And there are, the technology guys like Westinghouse and GE are coming and then wanting to put up in a big way. And again, the SMR, the small modular reactors, is again, people can use 50 megawatt, can be used in a small captive plant, 5 megawatt for hydrogen generation. That gives a huge opportunity, about, like a close to 10,000 crore of opportunity. The infrastructure development, the waste management, that throws a huge amount of opportunity. The supply chain, yes, as I was mentioning, huge amount of opportunity in the supply chain. The entire, the material handling and, the waste management and then the training of the people, that throws up a huge opportunity. The ancillary opportunity, what Sir was mentioning about the ANIL, Advanced Nuclear Energy for Enriched Life, is one of the unique opportunity which has been developed by a team of people in a nuclear lab in Idaho in United States in a laboratory, wherein thorium could be used, which we have got, we are the largest reserves of thorium holder in the world. We are not able to use it because the technology is not available. Now with the technology available through this ANIL, we will be able to develop these reactors and be able to monetize this as a technology. And the nuclear department is, kind of testing it in the Idaho laboratory in United States. This could be, kind of scaled up. That's a very big opportunity for us. And then, like nuclear health and safety products, we can export the whole thing of these nuclear products to the other countries, like, all the Southeast Asian nations and, the Far East countries will be able to export out, and then we'll be able to do that. The invitation for the entire, these kind of the supply chain is, the big players can have investments in big tickets. The medium companies can become a manufacturer and then can take part. Startups has got a huge potential, including digital and technology. The financial investors can have a very levelized, kind of investments over a period of time. That's possible. And the policy makers, yes, it's a gold mine. The act is now coming in. So people can have a huge amount of opportunity to go and then debate, deliberate and advise on this. So the thing is that it's an open opportunity. And, nothing stops without discussing the safety aspect. As Sir was also mentioning, the perception among us being nuclear is always, we feel, something wrong. See, we did a project in Kakrapar nuclear and as well as in Kudankulam. When people go, they become scared. They open up a little bit for the backfilling. Then they become scared, call the nuclear engineer and then say, please check. When I visited the site, I told them, don't worry, you do your job as per the normal engineering standard is fine. They only want you to do as per the engineering standard, nothing beyond that. But when the perception becomes too much, kind of into the minds of the people, they become worried. What is that is the thing? We did the nuclear reactor lining works in the reactor in Kudankulam. It's a very complicated material of construction, fabrication, welding. We did that in the nuclear reactor height of around 130 meters. We did that. So it's a challenging opportunity, and then for us to really to do that. And if you take, we should not compare the death rate, but as a benchmarking, 0.07 death is the nuclear per terawatt hour of generation, whereas if you take the coal, which is around 24.6, oil is something like 18.4. And in terms of the waste management, like high end waste, vitrification, and a lot of techniques have come for the waste management. And NPCL, we have got a gem of people who are experienced, who are clean people. In fact, I had the opportunity to work with several of these very senior people, directors and then things. They are all people with huge amount of knowledge and people. People are now coming out and then forming kind of entities and then becoming advising for the development. Currently in UP, there are 2 sites being contemplated to develop the reactors. One of my associate who is ex-nuclear power director is advising them to develop these reactors in Uttar Pradesh. So in Tamil Nadu also we are looking at investors to come and then do that. So be assured of the safety aspect. The way forward is that the monopoly, the tentacles of the government is getting relaxed. It's available for private investors. We can look at, like Make in India and then scale it up globally. Look at a long term, the next generation of people will have a huge opportunity. The supply chain is a big opportunity, not only in India and other thing. Safety is no compromise. We have got to insist safety. We will definitely be able to achieve 100 gigawatt. So that's the aim, and then for us to really to take it forward. So thanks for the opportunity to MMA and team. It's a very right point and very rightly, kind of kept as a subject for us to take it forward. Though the subject could be dry and it's, a kind of really to take it forward, it's an opportunity thrown up for everybody, every of our citizens, everybody of the professionals will have a share of cake of opportunity in this journey. Thank you so much.
Good evening, all of you. Yeah, it is very tough to talk at the last because everybody, past 2 speakers, they have covered almost all the points. What point to cover, I don't know. So I will just share what is the need. Why should we go for a nuclear power? That is a basic thing that both of them have explained, but let me explain in a simple manner. See, the total power requirement for the entire country is now installed capacity is around 500 gigawatt. Out of that, thermal is around 250 now roughly. We have grown, renewables for the past 10 years have grown about nearly 200 gigawatt we have come up. So, the base load still we are managing with fossil fuel only thermal stations. But we have a target of net zero by 2070. So keeping 75% of energy need from coal, how can we achieve this net zero thing by 2070? That is the major reason for going for a thing. So we need base load, round the clock, 24 hours power we need. All this solar, wind and all, it is very intermittent. Solar is available only in daytime. Wind is available only for 4-5 months in a year. Then how to manage the entire evening peak? Even now we are unable to manage evening peak. It's power is very costly in evening between 6 to 10. The power is in the exchange it is selling around 10 to 12 rupees. Because daytime we have excess, evening peak and night hours we don't have power. We are running all our thermal generators to meet the demand during non-solar hours. So now the time has come that we need to store solar energy released during evening peak hours. That is the move now. Now the battery prices have come down. A lot of battery storage is coming up in India. Tamil Nadu, I think we have tendered already 1000 megawatt hour battery storage already, and another 1500 megawatt hour battery storage is also the tender is under process. So 2500 megawatt hour battery will be installed. That will be used for storing energy during solar hour and released during the evening peak. It is only a short time storage. We need actually long time storage. Long time storage with the battery is very costly option. So we need to develop pumped storage schemes. Like we have a pumped storage in Kadambare, Tamil Nadu. About 4 units of 100 megawatt, 400 megawatt is there. That was the first, I think in India, that is the first project. Pumped storage is the first project which had come up in Tamil Nadu. So that earlier we used to pump the machine, pump the water from lower reservoir to the upper reservoir during night hours when the demand is very low. But now the scenario has changed. In the daytime, availability of power due to solar, it is very huge power is available, and exchange also, in power exchanges, the rates are very cheap during daytime. So we used to pump now daytime, between 10 and 2, used to pump the water from lower reservoir to the upper reservoir. And evening by 6 o'clock, that generator will be used, that will be used as a generator. That is a pumped storage scheme. We have already in Tamil Nadu, we have already identified about 14,000 megawatt of pumped storage schemes. Feasibility studies have been conducted, and one project about 500 megawatt hour is going on in Gunda. Another 1,000 megawatt NTPC joint venture they have awarded. Balance all are under awarding stage. So we need to have storage, either it is through battery or through water. This is to manage the intermittency of the solar and wind. But how to manage the base load? That is the main thing. The Shanti Act is come only to manage the base load. So clean energy we need. At the same time we need a reliable RTC power, round the clock power. So only option is nuclear. That is why India has enacted this Shanti Act, which is the nuclear is a clean energy, and we have to remove the difficulties. Why it is now the installed capacity of nuclear is about 8.8 gigawatt only out of this 500 gigawatt. It is meeting just 3% of our energy needs. But we need to phase out this 75% of our energy needs through nuclear. So 100 gigawatt itself may not be sufficient. We need to go in still long way to through nuclear. So the act specifically it allows private participation. We need new technologies. So international R&D and other things should come in. So for that they have relaxed all this. New act has given all these chances. That is earlier in CLND Act, that is the Compensation Act, no? Supplier, both supplier and operator, both were held responsible for the nuclear incident damages. Now this act has removed that suppliers from that. Only the operator is responsible for paying the compensation. That is a major shift in this act. So operator has to enter into, if the operator has any agreement with the supplier, then the affected person can seek some legal remedy, legal recourse. Otherwise, the supplier cannot be held responsible. So that is a major shift in the Shanti Act. That we expect a lot of international investments and technologies will come to India, and India is also having have allotted already 20,000 crores during this year for development of 5 small modular reactors. I think one in Tarapur, 200 megawatt, and already 220 megawatt, I think they are doing it in Tarapur itself. They have 3 models, one in 200 megawatt SMR, 55 megawatt SMR, and another one is 5 megawatt for hydrogen production. These 3 models are being developed indigenously by the Baba Atomic Research Center. They have fixed a target of 2031 to commission at least 5 to 6 SMRs in India. Meanwhile, private participation, since it is allowed a lot of private participation, new technologies may come in, and it may get a big momentum in this nuclear field. Already he has explained, Mr. Nandakumar, and explained all these, what are the business opportunities available in all these things. It's a good step that we are moving towards nuclear for a base load operation. There is no other option also for us. We can't always emit carbon dioxide in the environment. Most of the thing is because of thermal energy only. We are burning lot of coal every day, and it is actually there is no other option also for us as on date. We need to definitely move towards nuclear, and lot of safety aspects are now inbuilt in that reactors itself. Even the Japan incidents and all, now the technology has come passive safety. That is, even if there is no power due to some earthquake or tsunami also, the reactor will automatically get cooled by itself, convection method or something they are telling. It's all coming up, a lot of technology is coming up and safety is inbuilt. So we need not worry about nuclear incidents in future because enhanced safety features are coming up. Lot of research is going on in this field in various countries. USA is the major, I think some 17, 18 companies are doing a lot of research on that. China, I think they have already commissioned in 2023 on 200 SMR, 200 megawatt SMR, and they are doing a lot of small modular reactors. So India also has to cope up with all this to have a better stable electricity for our growth. And it is a big opportunity for the captive users. Actually steel, aluminium, and a lot of data centers are coming up in India. They consume huge power, 400 megawatt, more than 200 megawatt of power. So they can have one SMR, one 200 megawatt they can put up for their own use and use pump it into the grid and use it. So captive use will be better actually. Now the initial cost is high. Now around it is, for megawatt it is around 16 to 20 crores. Maybe after some time the cost will come down. Till the cost come down, I think government can give some PLI like scheme so that the cost is on par with existing thermal rates, at least 5 to 6 rupees. If it comes, then it is all right for any captive user to put up a plant as a nuclear plant. So private participation and use of energy for captive use are permitted in the Shanti Act. And Atomic Energy Regulatory Board is given a statutory power, like Electricity Regulatory Commission's Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. This Atomic Energy Regulatory Board is also, it has been made statutorily independent. Out of government control they have made it. And Compensation Commission they have given provision for any incidents. Compensation Commission will take care of all the claims and other things. And appeal provision is also there. For whatever orders they pass, Compensation Commission or Redressal Forum, they can appeal. If any party is aggrieved by that order, they can appeal in the APTEL. The Electricity Appellant Tribunal is there in this one. They can appeal in that APTEL. Even after APTEL, you can go to Supreme Court. That is the scheme in the Electricity Act. Same regulatory provisions they have made for nuclear also. So such things will encourage private participation, whatever is the dispute, no? Earlier you have to go only to the government, now there are bodies like legal remedies are there. You can first approach the regulatory body, then appellant tribunal, then Supreme Court, whatever is the dispute. So I think that will encourage the private investors, foreign investments will come. At the same time, government has taken control of the fuel, entire fuel cycle, everything. They only, central government has only have control. So safety aspect, they have not let it to the private. Only the investment angle and usage of power, both has been given out to the private parties. So we need not worry also on safety angle, since it is going to private. People may misuse something like that. No, it is already necessary safeguard is provided in the act itself. Okay, thank you. Right.
Yeah. So, Mr. Karthik, your question on how, the carbon neutrality, more or less, you are asking the questions on reducing the carbon emissions. See, the nuclear fuel or the nuclear energy is practically, there is no, the fuel which is used doesn't produce any CO2 gas as such, and doesn't produce any other greenhouse gas. Okay, like methane, which is 83 times harmer than CO2, it doesn't produce any of these gases. So that way, it's a low intensity carbon fuel. And again, to become whether it is a renewable, meaning like the fuel source, whether it is completely recyclable, we have like this ANIL, the technology which has been developed. And again, the 3 stages of our development in the country. The phase 1, the pressurized water, heavy water reactors, then the fast breeder. Then, the next is the one wherein we will be recovering and then supplementing the fuel which is being input into the system. So that way it becomes nearly renewable. So it's very apt for the current scenario, and everywhere now people, though it is all shut in elsewhere in Germany or other places, they are now reopening these nuclear reactors and then they are going for it. So that's the kind of thing. So you can be sure that it is a fuel, an energy which is completely carbon free. That's for sure. It is definitely is the case. As far as the renewable is the thing, like ANIL and as well as our phase 3 of the development, that will also make the fuel itself is recycled. So that way it becomes completely a renewable energy over a period of time. So that's that way we can be assured that we are having a carbon neutral or carbon zero energy in our basket of energy.
Yeah. I'll sit and tell. You can sit and talk. Mr. Yokesh, the rules are about to be released post Shanti Act within 3 months. Today we had the economic survey released, talks about nuclear power, expecting the budget announcements also. The most important bottleneck has been removed with the amendment to this CLND Act, Section 17, Section 46, which created ambiguity on the liability of the suppliers and the operators. In any capital, need certainty. They need to be very clear on what is the liability be there. With this amendments in this Act, and let's see what the rules say and what the budget says, we'll have more clarity on this.
This question, yeah. Question is, today capacity utilization of renewable is around 20-25% only for various reasons. How do we increase it to satisfy the peak power demand? I think we have already spoke about that storage. Solar is excess, it is available only in daytime. Between 10 to 2, huge excess solar is there, and people are going for more solar, even for captive, all other states are going for more solar. So between 2 and 10 to 2, we can't even take the power, so much of power into the grid. So we need to go for a curtailment or something like that in future. To avoid all that, we have to go for a storage. Charge the excess solar into the battery in daytime. Use it for the evening peak. That is already happening. Already I told that the state itself has gone for 2,500 megawatt hour capacity, tendered already. And we are likely to bring in certain regulations for captive users also to make compulsory. Whoever is putting a 1 megawatt or 2 megawatt solar, they have to put up at least 10% or 20% storage. Between 10 to 2, whatever energy excess is there, they have to store it in the battery and use for their peak energy consumption. So that way only we can do it. Another way is pumped energy storage system only. That is also water battery it is. Water you have 2 reservoirs, one upper and lower. We pump water during excess solar hour. Between 10 to 2 we will pump water from the lower reservoir to the upper reservoir. Use the same water during evening peak. That is the system now we have to do for solar. There is no other way available. These 2 systems only we can do it. See, central government already made act and the rules are going to come. So AREB will make regulations. As a regulator, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board will manage entire safety oversight. They will make regulations already. They will have to make regulations. So every private player who are entering into that, they have to obtain license first and get safety clearance from AREB, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board also. So they will ensure all these safety things in there. They will align with International Atomic Energy Agency rules and regulations, and they will form their own regulations. Every private player has to, any operator has to follow the regulations of AREB. Then automatically safety will be taken care of.
To supplement what Sir has told, the question was like the entire supply chain, if there are multiple players, how the safety and those related aspects can be taken care. It is defined in the Act who is the operator. Like even if there is a transporter, he is called as an operator. So the earlier in the CLND Act, there is a supplier and as well as the owner of the plant who is the operator. Both of them were held responsible in case of any liability. But it is absolutely now defined that the operator is responsible. Who is the operator is defined in the Act. So if in the supply chain there are 10 people or 15, 20 people are supplying, all of them culminate to the one operator who is going to build the plant. Either it could be SMR or a reactor of large capacity. So the liability gets covered, and then he, kind of has a graded liability, not a sweeping 1,500 crores across. It's, like graded depending on its capacity, the various caps of like a 300 megawatt, 200 megawatt, up to 1,500. In addition to that, it has been put for the Government of India to step in with, a different norm, and it can go up to as good as 3,400 crores. That's what it says in the overall. So it's well defined, and the Act, when it becomes, there will be a lot of operationalized, kind of things to become things put into place. So we can be sure that with the experiences of in the past, and especially when the private sector is opened up in 2000 for the power production, coal and gas-based power plants opened up, huge amounts of opportunities opened up. The sector became matured now. The Electricity Act became matured, power buying, selling became like that. This Act also will become matured for a period of time. I'm sure you don't have to be worried much about the safety aspect of it. The liability would be properly addressed, and then it is ensured that it is taken care. Thank you.
Last question for you, sir.
Okay, this is the last question. Aryan, now you have heard of the BRSR code of the SEBI, Business Responsibility and Sustainable Reporting Code for the top 1,000 PSUs listed on the stock exchange in India. All have this ESG, environment, social governance metrics for them. Big corporate houses, matching units who have got high energy intensity will definitely go for captive use of SMRs. Also the hard to abate sectors like cement, steel, aluminum, fertilizer refineries will also go for this captive power plants. So for all these houses in manufacturing space, this clean green energy is going to be a major compliance tool as well as a business imperative for competitive advantage as they proceed with their operations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think this is a subject where we need one full day is also not sufficient, but you all wait for the regulation which will be announced by the government soon. There is a big round of applause to for making this subject so simple and lucid so that we all could understand what exactly. I know we need to have a nuclear power, as he mentioned. Germany, they are reactivating all the nuclear power energy which they closed it some time back. I think that's what the thing in India will follow. Now I request you please step forward. We'll do the honor of presenting the book. Suresh, please come, and also Verma, another company member you all. Shanti, you want to stage? What we give is all the books. All the things. Very interesting story, and I later will start telling about there is QR code. You can look at what kind of book. This book is, we call it